You know that feeling, right? You give someone really good, solid advice, and you get back absolutely nothing. It is so frustrating. In this explainer, we're going to break down the science of why our best advice so often falls flat, and we're going to uncover a way that actually works to help people change. So, yeah, let's just start with that big question. Think about a time you saw someone you really care about doing something that, wasn't great for them. You laid out all the logical reasons they should stop, and it was just crickets. Or maybe they got super defensive. So what is going on there? What's that gap between knowing the right thing to do and actually finally doing it? And this right here, gets to the absolute heart of it. On the left, you've got the direct approach. Now, it's a fact, it's true, but man, it lands like a confrontation, doesn't it? It's an order. But then look at the right side, the guiding approach. It's a question. It's an invitation to a conversation. It doesn't build a wall, it opens a door. And that simple difference between telling and asking, that's everything. This whole dynamic leads us into what we can call the communication trap. And you know what I'm talking about. It's that crazy making cycle where your best intentions completely backfire and your attempt to help just pushes the other person further away. Just imagine someone saying this to you. Even if it's a doctor or a pharmacist who really means well, how does that feel? It feels kind of dismissive, right? Like they're implying you're either not smart enough to know or you just don't care. It's a direct challenge. And what's our first human instinct when we feel challenged? We defend ourselves. We don't just roll over and agree. So why do we get so defensive? Well, there's a core psychological idea at play here, and it's called FACE. And no, it's not about vanity. It's our deep, fundamental need to be seen as competent, to feel like we're in the driver's seat of our own lives. So when advice, no matter how good it is, threatens our sense of control, it feels like a personal attack, a threat to our face, and we instinctively push back to protect it. And the other piece of this puzzle is something called practical reasoning. Look, people aren't empty vessels waiting for our wisdom. We all have our own internal logic built from our life experiences. Someone might think, hey, I feel kind of weird when my sugar is low, so I know when to worry. I don't need a machine to tell me. Now, medically, that reasoning is flawed, but it's their reason. And when you just tell them they're wrong, you're dismissing their entire reality. And there you go again, threatening their competence. Okay, so if giving direct advice is a trap, what's the escape hatch? Well, there is a better way. It's a method called motivational interviewing, or MI for short, and it all boils down to one fundamental shift in your role. You've got to stop being the director yelling out commands and start being the guide who walks alongside them. So what is MI, really? At its heart, it's a way of talking with people that helps them find their own reasons to change. You're not trying to implant motivation into them. You're more like an archaeologist. You're helping them uncover the motivation that's already there, just buried under a lot of doubt and uncertainty. I love this analogy because it just makes it so clear. You're not the preacher on a stage telling everyone what to believe. You're the guide on the side, walking with them on their journey. The goal isn't for you to persuade them. The goal is to create a space where they can persuade themselves. All right, you might be thinking, this sounds nice and all, but does it actually work? The answer is a huge yes. This isn't just some fluffy, feel-good approach. The data is incredibly clear. Look here. In about 70% of clinical trials, MI flat out outperforms just giving advice. And it's not just talk. Look at this other bar. In over half the trials, it led to real, measurable health improvements. We're talking better blood pressure, people actually taking their medication. This stuff works. Okay, so you're on board. How do you actually do it? Well, the process is often called a 4-step dance. And I love that word, dance, because this isn't a wrestling match where you're trying to pin your opponent with facts. A dance is collaborative. You're moving together, in sync. So this dance has 4 basic steps. Number 1, you just connect with the person. Build rapport. Step 2, you listen, and I mean really listen, and you help them reframe the problem. Then, and only after you've done that, do you move to step 3 and offer some tailored info, and you do it only when you're invited. Finally, step 4, you plan the next steps together. See? It's a simple, logical flow from connection to collaboration. Now the real magic, the secret sauce, happens in step 2, reframing the problem. Your goal is to gently help someone see their own internal conflict. For example, you might say, "So it sounds like on the one hand, smoking really helps you relax, but on the other hand, you're getting pretty worried about your health." When you do that, you highlight what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, that really uncomfortable feeling we get when we hold two conflicting ideas. And guess what? Our brains are hardwired to want to resolve that discomfort. And when it's finally time to share your knowledge in step 3, you don't just dump a truckload of facts on them. You use this really elegant method: elicit, provide, elicit, EPE. First, you elicit. You ask for permission. Would you be open to hearing about? This simple question respects their control. Then you provide the info, neutrally. And then, this is crucial, you elicit again. What do you make of all that? And just like that, they're back in the driver's seat. So let's really dig into why this works so well. We're going to look at how this approach takes those moments that feel like a fight and transforms them into opportunities. It's about taking that resistance, that no, and turning it into an open door. Check this out. This is where the rubber meets the road. Someone says, "Do I really need to floss? I brush my teeth all the time." The old way is to lecture them. The new way, you reframe. So you're a really diligent brusher, and you're wondering if flossing actually adds much value. Or look at this last one. "I've gotten rid of it before, but it never sticks." Instead of saying, "We'll try harder," you reframe. So you already know how to treat it. It sounds like the real challenge now is figuring out prevention. In every single case, you're not arguing. You're reflecting, you're validating, and you're opening a new door to a different conversation. And that brings us to the quote that, for me, just sums up this entire philosophy. Conversations about change, they don't have to be a power struggle. They don't have to be a fight. They can be a collaborative process where you move together. Which leaves us with a pretty simple question, doesn't it? Why wrestle when you can dance? And so that's what I really want to leave you with. Because this isn't just a clinical technique for doctors. This is for all of us. It's for parents with their kids, managers with their teams, for friends, for partners. So just think about the last time you tried to give someone advice and it just landed with a thud. Now play that conversation back in your head. How could shifting from a wrestler to a dancer change the outcome? How could it change the next conversation you have?